YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. You've been asking for a hangar review or a hangar visit or a tour or whatever you want to call it. And so Megan and I were talking this morning because we have a project that we've been trying to get done for like 3 years.
Pretty much.
And so we finally decided we would get it done. And so since you guys always see our living space in a clean and orderly fashion, we just wanted to give you a real shot. This is what it really looks. We had a retired Navy vet out to fly for, I don't know, like about 3.5 hours the other day. It was super fun, worked out great. The weather was looking like it was gonna be terrible. But anyway, long story short, we had a few planes that we pulled out. We had a few upstairs already because we are running out of room in the hangar. Fortunately, last week we also were able to liquidate a few planes, and some of you guys ask us about that. We don't often do it. It's just like, once in a blue moon, we'll have somebody that's interested and they'll be here, and so we'll get rid of a couple of planes. But anyway, some of the batteries that we used that day are spread out. Obviously, this table is getting overwhelmed by, it's like an E-Sheen attack on Boeing. And of course, we got the helicopters out. That's pretty well organized. But then as you can see, we have a construction site here with some farming equipment. We have baby dolls and blankets. We have cats everywhere. And then of course, more planes. And we have one of our kids sitting over here waiting. And we've got more things on the floor, dirty table. And of course, the kitchen is not cleaned up. So this is the real life. And so we're gonna bring you guys a solution as part of this, because we know that in real life, not YouTube life, lots of planes equal lots of room, lots of clutter, lots of stress. If you're like me and my wife, we both like it to be nice and orderly, but we're realists because we live here too. Especially when you start getting up to these big 2 meter plus size planes. But even on this 1.5 meter Cirrus SR22T, and then over here you've got, what's the smallest one we have here is a 1.1 meter P51 from Arrows. So if you look, or we've got another one over here we can't really technically talk about yet. So if you saw it, oops, sorry. But anyway, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna bring you into the dungeon. Come with us. We have a dungeon view. You may notice there's no carpet on the stairs. That's what happens when you bring home 3 cats that rapidly turn into 11 cats.
Yes, you can come.
But fortunately for us, we
look,
decided
there's the other chunk of a cat.
Yes, that's right.
He needs to
is
go
that
outside.
Ashy boy?
Yes.
So this is the basement. Please excuse the mess. We always have messes going. This is real life.
This is where the kids hang out.
This is where the kids hang out during filming. So as you can see, we have things spread everywhere.
Thanks, bud.
This is sort of the kids' domain. It is messy right now, but it's not as bad as it usually is.
True.
So we have some pieces here, and this is the solution we're gonna bring you. It's a very simple solution. You already know from the thumbnail, but you've been asking forever for a hangar tour, and we showed you part of it upstairs, which is a huge mess that will be transformed by my wonderful, beautiful camera crew wife. And this is the hangar right now. And this is what we're gonna bring you as a solution, okay? So everybody that has a hangar has a dead plane box. You may not have quite as many dead ones, but everybody has a few. And I have dead planes all over the place, but the thing is, I always keep them for spare parts. This is what we built last night. This is the first of what we believe will end up being 3. And so we just wanted to show, we don't even have it organized. We did this in like 5 minutes. We put the planes that were spread throughout this
most in the way
area. And jets are the worst because they're huge.
Yep.
And then if you just come beyond this little area here, we have, like we have a plane here. This is the E-flite UMX Timber X. It's actually in the box. It's one of the few types of planes. This is not going to stay here. It just happens to be here right now because we literally built it last night out of PVC. We're going to show you the quick and dirty steps on how to build one of these for yourself. But you wanted a plane hangar tour, so let's show them the hangar tour. Of course, we have tons of planes. Okay, there's planes over there. There's planes over here, of course. Okay, so we have planes over here in a room that shall not be seen, and then we have all these things. There's literally stacks of planes. As you can see, stacks of planes. More stacks of planes, big, huge planes, wings from planes, UMX planes. We have planes that literally have overtaken this whole space. And believe it or not, that one rack emptied almost half. And then of course we have stacks of planes here.
Yep.
They're literally everywhere. And then of course the biggest planes like this, guys, the 2.1 meters are huge. We love them though. And we love bringing them to you here on Brian Phillips RC. But this is what happens to your basement when you let things get out of hand. And you can see it's a little bit out of hand. Now, you may or may not have recalled just being upstairs a few mere moments ago. And that room's full of planes too. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a few of these plane stands. There is a noticeable void here. That void was where another plane used to rest. And it has departed our home for another home where it will be loved even better. I come in here and feel bad. Some of my best planes, I don't even have time to fly them, so it's very frustrating, but also a great problem to have. So anyway, so this plane stand is what we're gonna give you a quick view on how to make, okay? It's very simple. As you see, it wiggles. We haven't had a full collapse, okay? And we don't have it organized very smartly yet. It's not glued together at all. It's just all pressure fit. And we have hammered the pieces together to make them really tight. And this Bigfoot is at the top right now, but that wasn't where we were gonna leave it. It just happens to be where it is now. But the thing that's so nice about this, you go out there, buddy. This plane, if I wanna take just this plane off, I can take just this plane off. This happens to be a P51 Voodoo 1.1 meter. We did a review on that not too long ago. In fact, I think it just came back into stock. So definitely check Brian Phillips RC for the easiest way to find these planes. And as you can see, when you put them in, you do have to be a little bit careful, especially with the floor-bladed props. They do interfere with each other, okay? But the idea is, once you figure out a good way to put them on, then it's very easy. If I want to get this Viper jet out, I can grab this Viper jet and it's ready to go fly, which is nice because it's surprising how hard it is to get to planes once they start stacking up on top of each other.
Yep.
And then if you want to do this, you can actually stack multiple planes on top of each position. So it's not the only way to store planes. We've done a bunch of different ways. Let's show them one other method that's really nice. Like if you have a crashed plane and you've been wanting to do work on it, but you haven't because you've been busy with other stuff. This is a MiG-29 that's crashed. That was a very bad crash. That is a regular iron board that should have been thrown in the garbage a long time ago. Okay, that's a good way to work on a plane because you get it up to waist high and you can work on it easily. These are sticks like you would get for marker sticks in your yard. I got a bunch of them from a plant one day. They were just like throwing them away. And so that works really nice, but this is a small aircraft. This one is sitting on top of a bent piece of steel that's zip tied on, just two of them, L brackets. And that's what we've done over here. If you show them on the wall, tons of those little L brackets are zip tied onto the 2x4s. And then even on this ventilation stack for our PVC, that's where we are able to store many planes, even though we have sort of an otherwise wasted space. And then over here, you can see we use this kids' football toss game. Tons of planes. It's amazing. If you took
the little gliders, if you see the silver brackets, that's like a cutting board. You'd set it up in your cupboard and put cutting boards in it. So they're really narrow, so they work for the gliders.
And the planes that you want to get out quickly and use a lot, the best way to do it is like this because you can get at them very easily. Like this has a hanging mechanism that I built. And I just walk the biplane right out of it. There's no damage, and look at that thing. It's two U-bolts that are held together with a little separating device here, and then it just hooks on to the joist on the ceiling, okay? And then this just slides all the way back, and you rest it on there, and it balances perfectly. Now, not every plane's gonna store that way, so you have to do your best to make some of them. Like some of these, you see the two ASW wings, if you point your finger, they'll be able to see the ASW-28. That has a block that everything sticks into. That works fine when you've only got a few planes. But as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 planes deep against the wall. That takes up a lot less room, believe it or not, than sometimes the stands because of the nature of the length of the wings. And those ones can be rested on the ground. Like, for instance, the Optera is huge. That's, how long is that? That's like a 2-meter plane or an 1800 millimeter. It's very big. But that plane is huge. If I put that on a plane stand, it's going to stick out so far that you're then dedicating that level of floor space. So we've had to try to be as floor space efficient as possible. And then certain planes like the Twin Otter here, we've taken and rested it inside of a piece of cardboard with some foam wrapped around it. Now there's a little bit of marring on the nose there, which is unfortunate. But as you know, this plane is awesome. I could put that on the ground, but there's nothing to protect the nose on this one. It's just soft foam. So if I take and line a piece of cardboard, I can actually rest that just like this. Some planes just go underneath because that's where they've gone. But I don't like that because it's very hard. If I wanted to get that V900 out right now, it would be a pain in the butt to get it out because I would have to move like 7 planes to do it. Same thing with the Cherokee. If I want to fly the Piper Cherokee, it's no big deal. But then if I want to go to the Amp Hobby, then I have to move 3 planes to get to it. So what if I want to fly the Edge 540? Then you're talking about moving 6 or 7 planes. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get to more design like this so that you can actually move that whole rack. I'm not going to do it right now because there's too many things around it. But our hope is we can get some of this floor space cleared up and then dedicate a few positions here to racks. And then what that does is that allows us to have planes that are racked. And if we ever end up with doubles, then we can have doubles that point each other. And then I envision we have another little room that we don't show on camera, but the thing is, that plane, we have a sister, and then of course we have the PT-17, and they're both huge. So we just lay those with their nose down on the ground. As you can see, we just have some carbon fiber wing joiners from Crash Planes. We drilled a hole, put it into the 1x1s, and then that holds up this carbon Z-Cub. Now, what's nice about this storage technique is that you have plenty of headroom depending on the height of your basement. We have 8 foot, what's...
I think 8 foot
8 foot 10.
Yeah.
8 foot 10 ceilings. They're supposed to be 8 foot 6 or something like that. They're supposed to be 9 foot ceilings, but when they did our forms, they said that it's unusual to actually have a full 9 foot ceiling with a finished ceiling height. I don't understand why that's unusual. But also you'll note that we have drywall on the ceilings. That was a fire code change that went into effect right when we built our house. So you can see this open period here. We were only allowed 80 square feet of opened HVAC access per floor of our building. So I think we were allowed 80 square feet. If we had a 10-story building, you would be allowed 80 square feet per,
per story.
10. So you'd have 800 square feet allowed. But in our case, we opted for this rather than painting a fire retardant paint on the bottom of the floor joists, which would have cost probably about 3 times as much as the drywall. The only thing that would have been better is then when we go to finish, it would all be down. If we ever go to finish this basement, which we will eventually, then we'll have to take down the drywall or at least cut access holes to pass wires through. It's going to be a nightmare. It's going to take a lot of extra labor. So anyway, our objective here in the wall is probably okay right now, but we don't like having them in the wall because when we go to finish that wall, or if we put in another water heater or whatever it is that happens, you have tied yourself away from using that wall for its designated function.
Right. And
so
when we do the bathroom, which is behind Brian.
Yeah, the toilet's a little bit open air toilet.
But that will be a bathroom. So
there is a sink over there too, so this is like technically a huge bathroom.
Yes.
But yeah, as you can see, when they pass through the wall, you have some planes that pass through almost as far this way as they do that way. So it just very much depends on the aircraft and the wing type. So then you look over here and you see like these 2 jets, the F-16 and then the Rafale. And you can see I've got those set up on that table. And I don't know if you guys can tell what those things are down there, but this is a light housing that's supposed to be used for a drop light. And so when I go to pick up this plane, I can pick it up and I know the exact position that this needs to sit. So if I was gonna marry myself to that particular arrangement, then what I would do is I would actually glue that down or tape it down or something like that to the table. And then you can see tons of ordnance in there. And this table also allows us to put some planes underneath. But again, this isn't very space efficient because it takes up a lot of floor space, and look at all the wasted space here.
Yep.
So if you think about it like this, you have 3 dimensions that you want to fill. What's the easiest way to do it? We found the easiest way is if you have an unfinished basement, when you have joists, you can make hangers that come straight down from an area that's like a corner. And then you just make one of these frames and hang it from the ceiling. And then there's nothing touching the floor, so when you need to sweep or whatever, it's very easy to do that. Of course, I do some like really minimal woodwork, but mostly house maintenance stuff gets down here on this little workbench that we put together. It's a far cry from what we had in our old house, which is funny because this house is way nicer than our old house, but it's never been set up the way that our old house was because we were there for 12 years. So all these little progressive steps take your house from where you want it to be to where it's going to end up being. And of course, a lot of the stuff we've done in here is just a temporary, like our lighting is ridiculous.
And we grew into that house, whereas this stuff literally all got like
moved in,
puked in here in one day, and it just
and it was here.
That's what it was.
And not only that, but when you first move into a house, all the crap that you have from years of storing up crap, many of these items get thrown away when you move, and then you realize immediately when you get to the new house you needed it. So it's frustrating for guys like me that hang on to things forever, and then it's super satisfying for my wife who wants to throw all my crap away. The problem is then we get here and you immediately need stuff. So speaking of, this frame is going to be one of those things where it's a low cost, highly space efficient choice. It's very easy to do. We're going to show you exactly what we did to do it. We're not going to show the exhaustive steps because there's just a lot of little steps. They're very easy steps, but they're little steps. Now also keep in mind that PVC is not free, so you'll want to do your due diligence. We happen to go to a store called Menards, which is in the Midwest. I don't know if you guys have it where you are, but these fittings and PVC we purchased at like our local, basically Menards. So
like Lowe's or Home Depot.
Yeah, right. Lowe's, Home Depot, whatever. It does. I mean, you can get them at Walmart, some of it. But what we're going to do is we'll probably go ahead and link. We'll have a list and we'll have something there so that if you guys really can't get access to that, you can buy it. You'll help support us in that way. But anyway, at the end of the day, you've got T fittings. We happen to use 3/4. This height was set to the door height. Mm-hmm. The door height here. Now this is obviously unfinished, but the thing is it still gives us a door height. We have a rug here, so we did include some finished flooring just to simulate that. And this thing fits all the way through. It's 18 inches. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cuts, 4 90s, and then 2 T's on the bottom. And then you can build whatever gaps you want for height. We did a 12-inch gap from the floor. Then we did 6, 6, 6, and so on and so forth until we got to the top. And then we did one single 90 that goes over to the top. So that's an 18-inch piece. Now, we felt like 18 inches ended up being a little bit wider than we intended to make it, okay? Also, you're gonna think that you'll be able to put these things together and then take them back apart. It's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
Because like, yes, we could pull them apart, but they're gonna pull apart however they come apart. So let's say there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 joints. If you were to pull on that, like she holds onto that end and I hold onto this end and we pull apart, it's just like the third one's gonna pop on this side and the 7th one's gonna pop over there. You're not gonna get an even break. Also, the 18 inches gives us plenty of tip protection because it's just got enough strength, it's not gonna pop out. But the thing is, it will wobble. So like if you bump it, it's not gonna be catastrophic, we hope.
Right.
Also, putting big planes at the bottom makes a lot better sense. But like I said, this stuff was stacked on the wall here. We were just trying to clear the way as we go.
Yep.
And then we can reorganize as we see fit. Additionally, like this plane, the Viper 90 is big, takes up a lot of room, and then you'll have to pay attention to the width of your fuselage, which is what's gonna set the width of your frame. Also, it's gonna set the length of these. We did 12 inches on each of these arms. You could do 18 inches, but then that's so much wasted length. And it's not a big deal, except then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 of them, because we do 9, so 9 times 2 would be 18. So it's just simple math. You have to count up the number of pieces you need. It's very simple. So what we'll do is we'll do a count on this, and we'll make a list in the video description below, and we'll have a link where you can buy the stuff. Now, again, it probably makes better sense, especially on the long sticks, to just buy them at your local shop. We got 15 of these things. This is Schedule 40. It is not thin wall. If you get thin wall, it will be a lot easier to cut, but it's going to be a lot easier to break. Also, Schedule 40 pipe has a thicker sidewall. So here's an example of the Schedule 40 pipe. So a thin wall is going to be about half as thick as this. If you want even more sturdy, but you're going to spend probably double to triple what it's going to cost, you can do Schedule 80. Of course, so it's Schedule 40, Schedule 80. I believe the thin wall is Schedule 20, but they don't call it that. They just call it thin wall. So you can get thin wall on 3/4. Then also thin wall uses the same brackets and these fittings. We got them in contractor packs so that we could get them more efficiently, a little bit cheaper. They're very easy to push together. But then when you cut this stuff, we used a regular chop saw, a compound miter box, and you're gonna get tons of this crap everywhere. It makes a huge mess.
Yep.
That's why we have a vacuum set up there. And we literally still have little remnants of it. So don't even think about doing this on carpet. You gotta do it on a hard surface so you can sweep it up and then vacuum. And it gets really staticky. And then of course this stuff is relatively sharp, and you can see that that edge is not perfect because we don't care, we're just cutting quick. It's very easy to mark, cut. There's enough makeup in here. You've got about 1 inch of penetration, okay? And then about 1 inch of penetration from the other one, and then about 1 inch of penetration. But there is an additional approximately 1 inch of added height or reach, depending on which one you're putting it in, okay? So keep that in mind. From the center of where all these match up, you're gonna have some dimensional issues to worry about. So when we look at this one we built, the next one we build, we were thinking about building smaller for smaller jets and airplanes that need a little bit less of a spread, and that'll also make the frame a little bit smaller and a little bit easier to do. Plus, look at the way this P51 sets. That is a 1.1 meter plane, okay? This is a 1.3 meter plane. They both fit on it, which is nice. So the 18 inches wide is great, but I feel like it doesn't need to be 18 inches wide. It could be 12 inches wide. Maybe we'll make the outrigger 18 inches deep, just because then we have a little bit less, you know, likelihood of toppling over, but we may not build that many positions either. So I would say we'll probably try to do 9 just because that's what our height limitation is. Now we wanted to be able to go through a door with it, but the other thing is we have additional height. We could go higher, but then you get high enough, you can't reach the planes to bring them down. So it turns into one of these things where it's like if you had a lot of planes, maybe you have a vintage plane that your grandpa built, and you know, you just don't have the heart to get rid of it, to throw it away or to sell it off or whatever. I have a few planes like that. I'm not gonna fly them every day, but you know, like once every couple of years, I might wanna take out, you know, the gentle lady and fly that. Just, you know, or maybe my grandma's over here, so I'll fly it for her. So of course, because my grandpa built it. So anyway, that'd be a cool thing. But you could do those high positions to store planes like that, okay? But planes that you intend to fly a lot, I don't wanna have to disassemble. I don't wanna have to take them apart. I know a lot of you guys have to take them apart because you have to transport them. But even in transportation mode, you can take off the fuse, put it here, and then you can take off the wings that made up with that plane and put them here. So even though this could hold 9 planes, you may find that the landing gear kind of exclude the next position. So flip the plane upside down, it helps a lot. So we've gone through, and believe me, this is not a new design. People have been building these for years. It's not something I came up with. We're just showing you the practical way we're using it. And you might find some help from actually watching us do it and how quick it is. We built this entire thing, not including the time at the store with the calculator and a piece of paper and doing math and annoying the Menards help.
I thought he was kind of interested, I think.
I don't know, he seemed like he was kind of enjoying it. But either way, the actual build time was what, maybe like 40 minutes?
Less than an hour, yeah.
So between the two of us, but I mean, she was using the vacuum and cleaning up and I was cutting quick. And then of course we had her son that was helping. Hand me pieces when we needed them, so he had to plug his ears, you know, because it is pretty loud when you use a chop saw. This stuff cuts clean though, so it's actually quite easy to cut. Now, if you don't have a chop saw, you can use a regular hacksaw, or you can buy something, you know, like a hacksaw like that. That would work fine, but it would take forever. So I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't have a chop saw, then this is going to take forever. Now, the other thing is, we cut most of our cuts to either 18, 12, or 6 inches, which are all multiples of 6. So it worked out really nice. We had waste to the tune of, 3/8 of an inch,
pretty much
5/8 of an inch, half an inch, and that was it. So we have literally wasted maybe 2 inches in total of extra cut. So that's what's so cool. You get 10-inch lengths, you got 120 inches to work with. If you can disclude the width of the blade, which is about it's about a 1/16 of an inch, depending on the blade you're using, then you have very limited waste. So it's really cool to be able to do a project like this. Now, we did buy cement. If we decided we were going to need to cement it together, we could cement it together. But I don't think you're going to need to cement it together. And in a pinch, you could probably get it apart. It's just going to be a pain. So if you would move and you would need to take this and bring it with you, that's fine. I would encourage you, if you're gonna try to take these apart, don't number them. It's gonna be like easy to figure out because there's 3 different lengths and there's a significant enough difference. You're not gonna confuse a 6-inch for a 12-inch for an 18-inch, or excuse me, did I say 18-inch? Yes, 18-inch.
Yep, for the base.
So when we do the next one with a 12-inch width instead of an 18-inch width, or maybe we'll just do another one just like this. I don't know. What do you think, Camera Crew?
I don't know. I mean, we have enough bigger planes
that you could, yeah.
I mean, we're probably going to need several of
But then what do you do with these little ones? Like,
I know.
I feel like it just doesn't have...
We are going to need a smaller one. So we could do a smaller one next and try
I think we do one smaller one in the 12-inch width. And then worst case scenario, you got to make an outrigger adjustment where you come out here to a T and then you widen up and go back around. And by the way, the fittings are where the money's at.
Yeah.
So even though these are reasonably cheap, it's like $1 a piece. Or not $1 a piece. These were like 50 cents a piece. When you buy the contractor pack, they were like 85 cents a piece.
Almost half price.
So what happens is it doesn't seem like that bad until you're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 90s. Next thing you know, you're in it for $50 worth of material for one stand. But that's not that much money considering you're storing over $1,000 worth of planes. So it's kind of cool because sure, you could take some wood and do it in other ways, but I mean, wood is really expensive right now still.
Yeah.
So I mean, like a 2x4 stud's probably gonna set you back like $5. And you used to be able to get them for like $1.12.
We've overthought it for 3 years, so we kind of just decided we need to just try something and do it. And
if we waste $150 in materials on building 3 of these, then it's a good waste of money.
And we're kind of at a tipping point where
we literally
unless you're going to start sleeping down here with your planes.
Sure. Or out in the backwoods.
Yeah.
So that's the tour. You guys have been asking for a hangar tour for literally, I think the last time we did one was right after we did the cat tree, which is now in the stairway, ironically. And we're down to how many cats now?
3.
We have 3 cats. We have a boy.
We have one of the kittens.
One of the kittens.
And then 2 of our 2 original girl cats. 2 or 3.
Well, we did have 5, but then this one disappeared here in the last few weeks, so maybe she'll show back up.
She might.
We had one of these that would disappear like that routinely, but then, anyway, this other one just recently disappeared. So when you're in the country, animals disappear.
Yeah. But they're out working. That's what they're supposed to be doing. Their job. So sometimes they go on vacation.
They go on vacation and never come back. So anyway, what we're going to do is we'll build this. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to make a drawing. And do we have a drawing over here that's appropriate? Okay, so this was the drawing we made. So it was really simple. We take a drawing and we decide, okay, what do we need? We need a 90, we need a 90, we need a 90, we need a 90, we need a T, we need a T, and that's going to make the base. So then you decide, okay, what's the width going to be? So the width is going to be 12 inches, okay? Then you're going to say, okay, I think we stick with the 18-inch, right?
Okay.
So you're going to have 118 and 118, okay? And then this gets you your cut list. You don't have to cut it all at once. We kind of built it as we went, but it was a lot more inefficient that way because we had to start and stop a million times. But really, okay, so we need 18, 18, 18, 18. So you make a cut list, 4 times 18s. Then we need a 12, we need a 12. Okay, so so far we're at 2 12s, okay? Then you're gonna need two 12s. We're gonna get the first set up 12 inches, or are we gonna do that with the smaller rack?
I think.
Because I felt like that made a lot of like wiggliness too. Because show them how I have that.
So you want to
the
do
saber's
smaller?
upside down. But you can see kind of what we did there is we did that 12 inches because I figured if we were doing a high wing plane on the low position, the landing gear would have a place to hang.
Which does give you that option.
But it also causes it to be a little bit more wiggly. Plus, it keeps it off the ground a little higher if you need to sweep. So I think we can stick with 12.
I like the 12, I think.
Okay, so we'll do 12. So we have two more 12s. Okay, so we have two, okay? Then we're gonna go all the way up to the top so we can mimic the exact same count. So this is the reason we show you this planning is because it's easier to show the planning than it is to show the cutting because it's gonna be really loud. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 times 2 is 18. That's going to give us 18 times 6 inches. 12 inches and 18 inches. So this is 4. Okay, so then what do we need for fittings? Okay, so those are our cut list.
Wait, nope, because you need your arms.
Oh yeah, that's right, we need the arms. Now how long are we going to do the arms?
These are 12, but I think you think it's going to be too much for smaller planes.
You think it's going to be too much, or do I think it's going to be too much? I think those two wings happen to be narrow. I also feel like the 12 inches of room gives you room to balance your stand. You guys see how much that moves? Doesn't even make me nervous because I know it's not going to come apart.
So
I think 12
how
inches is
many-
about the minimum.
I say we could do 10 because that would give you an even length on a stick.
And you
too.
and you have to think about that. You got 120 inches to work with, 10 feet. So if you have a stick, then that would give you, yeah, but we're only doing 9.
So we need how many? 9
The other thing
positions,
is
we need
you could do
18.
longer ones in certain positions and shorter ones in other positions. I think 12 just worked out nicely
Okay,
because we had no waste.
right.
So if we did 1, 2, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 times 2 is 18. So we add 18 to the 12s. So 18 plus 4. Of course, that's going to put us up to 22, right?
Yep.
22. It's dangerous to do math on camera because when you make a mistake, you look like an idiot forever. So here's our cut list, okay? So those are all the cuts we have to make. And then what we need to do is we need to actually turn around and count all the T's and all the 90s. Now it's exactly the same in this. It's just going to happen to be a narrower stand. Okay, so we need 1, 2, 3, 4 at the bottom, 5, 6 at the top, and then the camera crew is going to count the rest of them. So I'm going to say 6 90s.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. So we need 20 T's total.
20 times T's. Okay?
Yep.
Okay, so there's our list. You want to get a shot of that? And then if you guys are going to build this, this is going to yield a plane stand just like what we have. The only difference is instead of having...
Instead of being 18 inches wide,
it's going to be 12
it's
inches.
gonna be 12 inches wide.
Now, just to be clear, guys, let's talk about this for 2 seconds longer, okay? That is only going to save 6 times 3 lineal inches. So it is going to save almost no material, which is a tough call because it seems like a waste of, like, all the rest of it hinges on those 3 pieces. 1, 2, 3 horizontal members.
But if we can put a bunch of smaller planes, then it might nest in better with, you know, that set with bigger planes and then an even bigger one with some bigger planes on it.
Yeah, right. So maybe the next one we have to go up to 24 inches wide.
24, yeah.
But again, the strength of this, the general strength of this is all going to be set by how tight you put these things together. So the armatures or the arms, they come out, they're pretty easy to push in and just like that. But when I'm putting these things together, when I'm, see how hard that is to get out? Once you're in there, it's hard. If you take a hammer and you tap this, tap, 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 it will be on there so hard that I will challenge you to be able to get it apart. It is hard to get apart.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm saying that when you do it, you might break something.
We were hoping it might be a little bit more modular so that as planes come and go, we could adjust, but I don't think that's probably...
I don't think it's
build more
practical.
stands.
I don't think it's practical.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you could still put a pretty big plane on a width that's 12 inches, you know? So what we're gonna do now is we'll show you exactly how we mark out and then how we cut. And we're just gonna do a couple of them. We have some safety apparatus over here, obviously. So we have our cut list, camera crew. So we need 4 18s, that's the longest cuts. But remember, 4 times 18 gets you to a whole number in terms of the 10 foot. So as long as you're within the certain divisor on that 10, you're never gonna have waste, or you're gonna have a very limited amount of waste.
Yep.
So it works out pretty good in that regard. So I'm gonna put my safety glasses on because this stuff shoots everywhere. And we did unplug the saw because we have kids. We have to plug this thing in. And this project is pretty simple. If you just get right down to it, it's a matter of measuring, cutting, and then pushing together. So it's a really pretty simple process. Also, we have this piece, which can be one of our cuts. I think it's a 6-inch piece, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a 12.
Hold that.
Oh, see, now we got to get it apart.
I think this one's a 6-inch piece.
Yeah.
So it's actually long. See, that's the type
That'll
of waste
be our
we're
waste,
talking
yeah.
about. Yep. So when you're laying out your cuts, it's super easy. Oh, and there's more planes out here. I don't know if we talked about that.
I know.
But those ones were ones that we took up the other night. Okay, so I just use a regular Sharpie, nothing fancy. And I get my tape and I just start marking. Now, actually, I want to mark from the other side because that's the way I'm going to cut. I find it easier to cut so that this side gets cut, and that's the
Extra goes that way.
Yep. So we're cutting 18-inch pieces first because I like to cut my long pieces first, and we also need the base first. So we're going to cut 18. So I just make an arrow at the 18. And I would never do this if I was framing because you would need the thickness of the blade.
Right.
So 18 becomes 36, right? So that's another 18. And then after 18, or after 36, what do we have? We have 1 foot, 6, right? Becomes 54. So that would be 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So 54, or 52, right? You ready?
Yep.
So 54, that's going to give us 1, 2, 3. Then we have to go even longer. So remember, that's 4 foot 6, and that's 5. So that's going to give you 6 plus
6 foot, 72.
So 72 inches. So there's our last cut. Now let's just talk about this for a second. Now we'll measure from the other end, and you can see what I'm talking about. If you keep multiples of 6 inches, you're at 49 inches. So look, you're going to have a waste of about 1 inch. Right? So that's totally tolerable because that means I'm going to get 2 12s out of this as well, which is really nice. Okay, so let's show you just how messy this really is. I usually like to support, we're doing this on the ground, but if you were doing this on a chop saw table, it'd be a lot easier. This happened to have a groove in it, which is really handy, but it's not necessary. And I just set that out somewhere out here in the back. And then I bring this out and just get myself positioned. Now, normally we would turn on the vacuum. We would get that thing running, okay? So that's gonna be running. Don't do it at the same time if you're in the same circuit. You'll blow your circuit breaker probably. So then the camera crew is gonna do this.
Ready to cover?
One more, and that's full. So that's pretty much what it takes So then you end up with, out of this one piece, you end up with your whole base, okay? And then we usually tap them to get all that schmutz out of there. And then off camera, of course, buddy, can you get me 4 90s? The other ones, bud.
The elbow ones.
There you go. So basically these, you can just give me 2 first. So these ones are gonna go on the bottom. Thank you. And then we're gonna have a 12-inch that goes between these two.
Should we cut our 12s, then we can show them at least kind of assembling the whole base.
And then those will not come out, not easily at least. Then there'll be a 12 just like that, and there'll be a T inside here. Okay, so we'll go ahead and 2 more 90s.
Oh, I need a new one.
Yep, I'll get you another bag, buddy.
Perfect. Good job. Good help. Thank you. So then these ones, same exact process. You can hear the difference in pitch of the, you know, that echo. And I'm hitting pretty hard. Now, when you get to the T's, you can use a hammer to tap them in, and then a block of wood if you're concerned about cracking. So then the 12s are gonna go in there, and your T's are gonna go right here. So we got those assemblies mostly built. So now back to the safety gear. There they are. We have to cut 2 12s, so we'll measure one more time. You can see it's really pretty easy work. It's just a lot of little steps. And if you were super efficient about this, you would make a jig at 12, 18, and 6. And then you would just slide to where you want to cut. Okay, so 12. Right here, I'm just kind of doing an arrow to point right at the center of 12. And then I don't know if you guys could see it, but when I cut, I just plunge the blade into the middle of the cut. And then what happens is you're always sacrificing half of a blade width on every single cut you make, no matter what cut you're making. So, like I said, if I was framing a building, I wouldn't cut it that way. I would mark the cut side, and I would cut the mark away. That's what I would do if I was measuring. And I would have a keep part, and I would have a waste that's part of the blade, and then I would have whatever the extra is, okay? So in this case, it's a little bit simpler because it's not exactly, you know, some big structural thing. So without further ado, we're gonna do some more cuts. So as you can see, we got some 12 inchers. That stuff is such a mess.
All over the place.
See, it's all over my arms. It's over the camera crew. And yes, it does get thrown a lot.
It's easy to clean up. It's just that it goes
It's just annoying.
everywhere.
So then, thank you. These are verticals, so we can actually tap those in now. Now, this is a really critical spot. So you want to make...
Wait. Those are your end pieces.
Huh?
Those are your ends.
Oh, thank you, camera crew.
We're not
building the verticals yet. Thank you. So this is just the narrower side. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the same also for that. Okay, so now I can tap this. And then I can tap this. Either way, it does kind of the same function. And if you're concerned about getting it real tight, that's the way you do it. Now, this is where you got to be a little bit smart about the way you do it. You see how it's not perfectly lined up? If you're smart, you'll get it so that it's flat and square, and then you'll figure out a way to brace it and tap it. And then you have this square. If it's out of square, you're gonna know immediately, okay? Then you can take, see how it's not totally square? Just tap the high side and you're done. Then you take these things. It doesn't seem like it's that hard because it's really not that hard. And then you can slide these on. And you want to try to really get those nice and square. Now you'll have leverage way out there you can use to center them. So these ones are actually fairly easy to adjust once you get a few in. But you can see how far I can tap that down. before it bottoms out. You can hear a difference. Show them from the top here, camera crew. So you see this? See how much it's not penetrated? See how it goes up there? Can you see it? Mm-hmm. And then it hits that little lip. Now, if you were gluing this, it would go even further. Okay? And then kind of the same thing here, except I think it's gonna be easier to put the end on first. So this basically gets you an entire base, and it gets you one more stage closer to freedom in your living room and out of the doghouse.
We don't have a dog anymore.
That is true.
Okay, so now that's nice and flat, but this one here, see how it's lifted? So I'm gonna just hold that down and then just pull up a little bit, and now it sits flat, okay? Once it's flat, you can take these, stuff them in, and then you're done. So like I said, this is not the first or last time you'll see this on the interweb. It's a very simple design. A little bit. Just go till you stop seeing movement, and you can hear a difference in pitch. And yes, you can break PVC hitting it with a hammer. That's a pretty sturdy stand, guys.
Yeah.
So now you have that, you can start building up, and the next thing you know, and I'm saying it's 50,000 little steps, but they're 50,000 really easy little steps. So guys, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and build this up. We'll show you maybe a clip in the middle and just show you how to put all the arms on in the center, and then we'll give you a clip at the end when it's full planes. So stay tuned. Okay, so we cut all 22 of the 12s, and we cut all of the, how many was it, like 16?
18
of the 6 inches.
Yep.
So a couple things we figured out and we remembered from last time when we were building, it's a lot easier to put these in on the ground, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Yes, you can push them in, and that one actually went in pretty good. And I'm holding this. You can actually tap it a little bit just to get that better purchase. These things don't like coming out, okay? So it's not like you have to worry about them falling out, but I want to show you. Okay, so this is how it goes. It's not so bad down here, but then when you get up to the top, it's very wiggly, okay? So now some guys take and they'll do an extra T strategically midway up. The trouble is then you can't pass the nose of your plane through. So it is a big trade-off. You will get a lot more structural rigidity, but I don't recommend it myself, okay? We want to keep it as simple as possible, okay? Okay, so that's there. And then I usually try, if they're vertical like this, a couple of taps. We're not doing any caps. That will probably add a third to your price.
They were
very expensive.
like $1 a piece.
Yeah, it was more expensive
crazy.
than like anything else.
Yeah.
Okay, so now the better way to do it is to take and assemble your next section. So you take a 12-incher.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Lay it on the ground. Tap it in. You can hear the difference. It's a very obvious pitch change. Okay. Okay, so that's all the way in. And look how fast I can whip these things out. Just make sure you get them in the right hole. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble.
Yeah. Okay, bud. Ready for another bag?
Yep, get those ones open. Okay, so what we're doing is we're just tapping these together. Okay, I'm not ready. Then we'll take 6-inchers, and we need a 6-incher, and then this goes on top. Okay, so I'm actually gonna hold this, and I'm gonna tap it together. Now watch this. If you really get creative, what you can do is you can build a whole assembly and then put a handful of them on at the same time. Okay, so this is one option where you just do one at a time. And you go until it starts bouncing the whole frame. And that's pretty dang sturdy. And by the way, every single hair that's in your carpet or in your house will stick to this.
Sorry.
Yeah, which is gross. So hold this, tap it in, grab another 6-incher, tap it in, grab another 12-incher with your T, tap it in. Because remember, it doesn't get a whole lot easier than when you've got a concrete surface or a hard surface. If you're on a wood floor or whatever, it's going to be harder, okay? So now just make sure you get it lined up right, this way. Then you come up here, and you can go until it stops moving. And that's how fast you can build one of these frames. So we did this because honestly, this is one of those projects where we should have done it probably 2 years ago, roughly.
Yeah.
And it would have been a lot easier on everybody because there's a lot of wasted time and effort moving around planes. Okay, buddy, you ready? Okay, so we need the long ones to go into this one, and then the short ones go between. And that's gonna give us about a 12-inch gap. It's actually more like 12 3/4 inch between these surfaces, okay? All right, and then we take 2 shorters.
It is nice to build several of them at once, though. Just make a big giant mess.
Yep, cut them.
Instead of build one every weekend, like just get the stuff and build.
Yeah, it doesn't take very
3
long
or
to
whatever.
do any one of the steps, but it is a lot of steps.
Yep.
Okay, so if I wanted to put this in, I could. So I'm gonna do that. And as you can see, at the end of the day, if you did everything right, you're gonna have everything lined up properly. And then, okay, we need some more of those. Thank you. So basically this one's gonna need, and you just gotta pay attention when you get toward the end, that's where you gotta extra watch out for it. You remember how you see how I did that? You always wanna put the long one in first. Makes it a lot easier because you can hammer it flat on the ground. Again, if you're making an assembly, it's hard to put this along the ground and hammer against it, but you can hammer this way because you can get that leverage down on the flat surface. And you see how those are imperfect? You can straighten them while you've got it off of the assembly. Then this whole thing just gets added. So there isn't really like a wrong way or right way to do this, but we have found that this way works pretty good. And I must say the 12-inch gap seems a lot more sturdy than the 18-inch gap. See, that wiggle's not gonna be a factor once you go at the top. This wiggle will still be a factor, but it's of minimal consequence because it can't tip itself over unless you had something really heavy at top that wasn't gonna slip off. What I could see happening is somebody walking by, they clip a tail of a plane and it could slip off of the frame. But you'd be surprised, those props will catch each other. And we haven't ever knocked one off the wall over there. We've bumped them before and gotten close, but we've never had them fall off. All right, so again, just to demonstrate why you don't do this, I'll show you the wrong way. This is the wrong way. Okay, goes in nice and easy. You're thinking, hey, I'm cruising along. This is gonna be, dang it, now I have to do this. Now you can do it, but then you just don't get that same purchase if you were to put it on the ground and tap it, because there's no way to brace this very easily. Now you could take 2 hammers and you could hammer against each other, and then it's harder to straighten them up too. So, all right, buddy, another one. And then we're just gonna pretty much go through this process, and we won't bore you with the same exact sequence, but we'll come right back when we're done putting this one together and show you what it looks like.
Okay, so this was our cut list. We just realized we made a mistake. We did not account for this top brace piece up here, which should have been on our 12-inch cut list. So this should actually be
20.
And you know what? We
should
got
have an
one
odd
too many
number
6
because you're
inchers.
gonna have 2,
We have one too many 6
bottom.
inchers too.
and we have 1 too many 6 inchers.
Okay, so we're about ready to put the top on. We accidentally cut an extra 6-inch piece, which is fine because we're gonna need a 6-inch piece for the next one.
Yep.
But what I did in my mistake was I was numbering as I built or as I cut, and I just happened to number 3 and number 3. So I had 2 3, so our numbers are right. We needed 18 of these 6-inch pieces.
Yep.
We just happened to be wrong on the 12-inch pieces.
Yes, because we didn't account for that top.
But you see how much movement you have here? Even with that movement, they don't want to fall over very easy, okay? So it's nice because you get to see this with it unloaded. See how much movement there is? It's amazing. This connection point up here. Now we'll do a 12-inch here, but if you wanted, you could actually try to squeeze in a smaller joint or even tighter. And then you get that triangle, which makes it even more secure. So I had talked with the camera crew off camera, and I had tried asking her if we could do a shorter piece here just to kind of see how it works. And I'm not sure.
I still think it's gonna limit what plane you can
It
put
will
there.
limit what plane you're gonna have. But the thing that's nice about that is instead of having a square frame that's going to allow for more movement, it's going to be tighter at the top where it's the most vulnerable to movement. So in our case, this is also what we ended up with. So we have enough. I think this one was like a 36-inch piece. But it's nice because every single time that you cut on a 10-foot cut of PVC, you're going to get about 10 foot and then maybe a 1/4 inch to 5/8 of an inch. So it works out really nice to where, of course, I'm not left-handed. So you see 36 3/4 here.
So that'll be our waist.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's not really waste.
Right. Well,
Because we're building more of these. But if you guys are doing this, keep in mind, what did we tell you? You're not saving any pieces. Even with the 6-inch mistake here, if we were to cut this down for 12 inches from 36, then that means we would need another 6 inches here, another 6 inches there. That would make us 18-inch wide and then 18 inches up here because it's another 6. So we're 18 inches plus, okay, so if you were cutting 18 inches, you would get 18 inches. Yeah, you would be able to cut all the pieces and then you would still have enough for your 12-inch remainder. So the cool thing is about this project is you end up using the expected number of sticks. So you don't end up with like one stick where you're cutting 6 inches off. So if you stay to the 6, 12, 18-inch steps, 36-inch steps, then you'll end up with good cut lengths on your 10-footers if you get 10-footers. If you don't have a chop saw and you don't want to cut these yourself, remember when you get them at the store, they're not going to be the same exact length. The short cut pieces are cut a little bit cleaner, but if you go to a place like Home Depot, they'll have a saw you can borrow. And sometimes they'll let you cut them down, but be careful because you're buying what you cut, even if you screw it up. And also keep in mind, this stuff, it makes a big mess. So if you can do it somewhere else, that would be kind of cool. Just get your cut list right. So our apologies on that cut list being wrong. The good news is my mistake would have actually put us in good shape in either way.
yeah.
So you can make up with a 90 on these, it'll be fine. So we're gonna cut another 12-incher and show you putting that on. All right, so we're gonna push this on. This is the 12-inch, it's the 23rd one. And a little bit harder to do the 90s because it's harder to get these totally square because you have to line them up. I usually sight down the top of them and then just try to get them lined up, show them how it looks. See, that's not square. What you can do is you can put it on there loose and then lay your body weight on one side and you can flatten it. Then once it's flattened, you can hammer them in. And that's gonna get you pretty good alignment. It's not perfect, but it'll be close. Then right here, right here. Now you can glue this all together if you really want it to be hard to take apart, because then it's not ever coming apart. But my thinking is, look how much more sturdy it is with just that one brace. It's crazy. And we haven't broken one using a hammer yet, but you could probably break one if you're a little bit too crazy. Okay, so as you look down the side-to-side profile, see why I was concerned about the 12-inch on the bottom? Because that's giving the most flexibility, okay? So there's a lot of things you can do to take the flex out. Some guys have taken and done bracing here. I don't like that because a lot of the fuselage is going to go in here, okay? And the thing is, this wiggle doesn't bother me. It doesn't stop it from working. It doesn't defeat the structural strength. If you overweight one side, look how sturdy it is. It doesn't want to tip over. See, once it's all held together, that flexibility, I mean, if there's an earthquake, your planes won't fall off the stand. Unless something falls into
It's like
them.
the one thing we don't have to worry about.
So, as you can see, it's a pretty simple system. They don't even have to be perfectly aligned. Like this one here is not perfectly aligned, so I'm just gonna put my belly up against it. And it doesn't quite move. So as you can see. And then let's show them going through the doorway. Hopefully this fits now that we've got it on the record. Okay, so I'm gonna go up on top of the carpet to simulate carpet. See, we have a little bit of room there, so depending on the type of flooring you have, the doorway should be cut the same size, but depends on how good your builder was.
Right.
So here we go. So we lay this down and let's put it on the carpet so it's got a flat spot, and let's just show you. Okay, this is a 1.2 meter beautiful E-Flight T28. And let's put it over here because then I can show a couple of different ways this will work. See, the width is narrower than the tail now on the 12. But even if you really want to store this on here and you want to put the tail through first, I would not. You can still do it, okay? Now, why in the heck would you do that, you might be asking? Well, some people want to see their planes in a certain orientation, and then you keep it within the boundaries of the 18 inches still. Now, this is the way I will do it. First of all, I have to untangle this mess. That's going to make it hard to get other planes in. So this is the way I would do it, is I would take nose and go in first, just like this. And then you have to watch out for ordnance and landing gear. But you see, we picked a size that seems about right for a 1.2. Now that's a tricycle, and look where the canopy is. See where the canopy is? So the next plane might give some trouble with that. So why don't we go ahead and grab another plane? How about the Viper jet, hon?
Okay.
So we got a Viper jet, similar size class, 1.1 meter, excuse me, this one's 1,000 millimeter, rather. So it's a tricycle, okay? So nose gear and all, let's see how that works. Now we didn't think through how this would work, but you see this prop, so you have to make sure you get prop clearance. And then are we hitting the gear?
You're hitting the prop.
Hitting the prop?
Yep.
Is it just pushed out of the way?
You are not now. Yeah, you're clear.
So as you can see in this particular setup, we have landing gear that are hitting. So what you do is, just like if you were storing your planes on the wall hanging, or if you were storing them in a pile, or you're storing them on a shelf flat, you have to think about that with your gear up and gear down. So one thing I might start doing is, if I find a home position for that particular plane, what I might do is I might go in and mark Viper, and I can mark right on top of there. And then I can, because believe it or not, what ends up happening is I'll take 6 or 7 out, and then you can't figure out what's going on, like where do the planes go? So the other thing you can do that works really sharp is, if you have a plane, and again, this is just an easy idea. It's not like we're trying to sell you on this, guys. We don't really make anything from doing this. You can put this on the bottom too, because there is a position on the bottom. So one thing you can do is you can get this down, and it will take up the position in the floor that's already wasted. So maybe you have like a jet that's got an especially, large amount of ordnance, or like this F-16, for instance. You're already taking up the floor space, so you could put one on the floor. But again, if I was gonna do that, I'd put the retracts up on this particular plane. So I gotta take a marker and mark inside the canopy and say, gear up for storage. And let's show you what it would look like if we were just going in here. Okay. So again, this is 12 inches wide, just to give you an idea. This one's 18 inches wide. So now, like this E-Sheen 50 millimeter,
That's a great.
see how nice that fits?
Yeah.
And then this other E-Sheen 50 millimeter F-16, see, there's barely any purchase on the stand. Super easy to take out, which is nice. But then look at this. See, the belly of the F-16 is round. Now you just have to work through all those little minor details, but show them how much contact area there is on that wing. It's not like it's gonna wanna fall off, but you can see we put the the 1,000 millimeter, I think that's 1,100 millimeters. Either way, yeah, that's gotta be 1,100 millimeters.
And we were kind of doing this 12-inch size for more of these smaller planes too. So
Yep,
the fact
and
that those big ones do fit
Here's
is
the
nice.
Prodigy from Arrows. So that one there, again, this is not like we thought this out. We're just doing it on the fly, pun intended, haha. So as you can see, look at that movement. Now, let's say I bump it. Is this all gonna fall off? Even with a serious movement. Now, why would it get to moving like that in a shop environment? I mean, you would literally have to bump it hard with like a 2x4.
The other thing is, we had talked about putting some sort of like
That's
foam.
what I was about to say. So we have this foam that's like a weather strip, and that foam comes off of a roll like this, and it's not sticky, and it is sticky. Now this is a wider product, but you could use something thinner. And then all you gotta do is apply that to the spots where you have a plane that likes to slip, or maybe even just the end. And that's where your cap might be nice. Now, the other thing you could do is you could throw a zip tie around the end, pull the zip tie tight, clip off the tail, or leave the tail. And that becomes a lock. So even if this does slip, it's gonna stop when it gets to the end, okay? So there's a million different ways you can literally skin that cat. You could take and pre-drill and put a small nail or like a screw in there so you could set the height. But again, we're trying to keep this as simple as possible and still be effective. So the other thing is, don't forget, you can take these planes. You don't have to put them in right side up. You can put them upside down, like this. But I think we've established that the 18-inch wide gets you more bang for your buck. You don't have any more pieces to purchase. So it might make better sense to go with 18 inches on average. So for the average person. Now, a big plane like this is heavier. I don't trust it yet on this stand. I would like to have a bigger stand. But I love, okay, so let's see if we can put this X-Fly, what is this one called again? This one's the...
Is that the Glass
Star. Yeah, the Glass Star. Sorry, guys. Hard to keep them all straight. Okay, so the landing gear, this one's all kicked sideways, so I want to turn that rudder straight. That's one thing you do need to watch out for, is if you have rudders and things like that that get flipped around, it can cause some different problems. Now, you also note that we did 6-inch between here and here. If you knew you were putting bigger planes together, maybe it would make better sense to do bigger gaps. Or alternatively, see, this one also has, you see these?
The wing struts are.
The wing struts are going to cause a conflict. So I'll just go up to the next layer, slide that in. And then I don't know that I want to go any deeper than that. And it just sits in there and it's no problem at all. And it's amazing because look at this. We had planes all the way up and down here. Now also, a few of these planes are ready to flies. So like that's for the Prodigy, which is down here. So look at that.
Oh, nice.
That is so nice, guys. So these are just the little storage techniques that add up to a finished product that's really nice. Like what's this go to? This is the Bigfoot. So the Bigfoot we actually have on the other side. So all we have to do now is find an appropriate spot to slip that in, and we're golden. Of course, I'm running into problems getting that started. That one has a little bit narrower opening here. So what does this one go to? This one goes to the Arrow Trekker.
Which is on the other one too at the very
It's on
top.
the other one?
Yep.
Right here. Yep, so that one just a little bit tighter, but it still goes on just fine. So yeah, guys, that's the name of the game is with airplanes is that you're gonna have a lot of space taken up as you start to collect a lot of planes. But we've just shown a way to store roughly 9 times 2, so 18 planes, probably more like 20, because you could do a 10th on the ground. And again, we haven't really spent a lot of time to organize these in any particular special type of way. And we also haven't put an especially heavy plane on here. The heavier planes put at the bottom, the lighter planes put at the top, which makes sense anyway, just for natural stuff. But then if you get something like this, I forget what this thing's called.
It's the Zod.
The Zod.
Is that the Dart or the Alpha Strike?
Alpha Strike or something, I don't know. So that could go either direction, be super easy. Or if you're in a pinch and you've got a lot more planes than you have stalls, then you can actually do where maybe you put this F-18 upside down like that. And you lay it down, and then that gives you another position for another plane. So it's not rocket science here, but the idea is when you start getting a lot of planes like I have, it gets to being kind of a big function of your life, storing them. Okay, so as you can see, the Draco wing fits on there perfectly fine. Maybe the Draco would make sense just because it's so big, you'd take off both wings, put them on a stack together, but they've got these beautiful counterweights that are actual functional counterweights. And you've got these, you know, carbon fiber things that stop the plane from tipping over and grabbing the ground with a wingtip. You could put 2 of those there, and then you could just roll that underneath the whole stack. But again, there's a million ways to skin this cat, and maybe it makes better sense to do more than 6 inches on the gaps there. But I would say like this plane, the T-28 is probably gonna go on the other stand because it's just a little bit too big. And then maybe the Arrows 50 millimeter EDFs like the Viper would come over here.
Yep.
So there's a million ways to skin the cat. We just wanna give you guys a tour because you've been asking for literally a year and a half, probably almost 2 years since we did the cat tree video. And so this is what happens. Progress takes time with some of this stuff, especially if you're tied up with other projects. But for some of you guys, it might be, you know, run down to Menards today, buy the materials, build this afternoon. It's really not hard. The hardest part was actually cleaning up.
Yeah.
So I had the camera crew and the children helping to keep clean. And we're gonna have 3 of these stands before you know it. And this whole stack of planes is gonna turn into 3 racks of planes that might take up this little cubby. And so it's gonna be really nice. It's gonna feel like we're reclaiming a big part of our basement. And then it's just, you know, another trip to Menards, $50 worth of materials, and we can build another rack when we start getting ready to fill up another rack. And so you've got a staging area on the floor. You just kind of work your way through. Next thing you know, you're all on racks, which is really nice. So if you have questions, leave them in the comments of the video description below. We'll have links to where you can find a list of construction materials for this. Obviously, we'll put links on where you can buy them online, but we understand you can get this stuff at your local hardware store and do it without too much trouble. But we've got all the cuts. We'll put the cuts for the 12-inch, and then we'll put the cuts, basically the same would be true for the 18-inch wide, except you would just add 6 inches to 3 of the 12s. So we'll have a cut list for both of those. We'll have a list of materials that we purchased. And then don't forget to give us a like on these weird videos. Obviously, we're not going to be selling any planes here, but which is a big part of how we fund our channel, is we work with these companies that send us the planes for a review. And then when you buy them, we get small commissions when you work with us by buying them through the links. So we know you guys are going to buy a lot of these planes anyway. But when you watch the video to help you make a final decision on what you want to buy, or maybe deciding between, you know, say you're making a decision between this Viper and this T-33 here from Arrows, that would be one good example of 2 planes that people would oftentimes consider. We understand that a big part of what you're doing is you're going to watch 2 of our videos and say, which one showed better? Which one was more powerful? Which one was cheaper to run? Which one was cheaper to buy? You know, which one fit in my you know, Taurus, or what fit better in my Silverado. So there's a million different reasons why you might pick one plane over another plane. And it's not always the price. It's not always the color. It's not always the EDF size. It's not always whether it's got AS3X or if it's got, you know, a vector stabilizer, or, you know, a Vortex, or, you know, some other brand of stabilizer. Sometimes it just comes down to, you know, how did it feel? What did it look like? So we understand that's what you're doing here on Brian Phillips RC largely, is you're coming here to help make decisions. And then also you're coming here for help on basic how-to, and how to set up the radio, and how to install the transmitter, and how to actually assemble the thing. And you know, if you're brand new to the RC habit, your basement will eventually look like this if you stay at it long enough, or if you're super obsessive like me. But at the end of the day, we're here to help bring you guys the maximum from the RC experience. So we hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely come back for more. We appreciate you guys here on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Okay, YouTube, so one thing we forgot to mention earlier is we got these clamps. These are like the world's cheapest quick clamps that I've ever found. They're just a regular ratcheting clamp, and they can hang on to objects like this structural beam, this lamb beam, or whatever they call them. And you can see we have 2 of them here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna hold some of the bigger planes. As you can see right here, the Carbon Z Cessna 150T is huge. It's a 2.12 meter, I believe. And this is just gonna hang on to that beam. And we've done it before. That timber sits on one. And honestly, I said that was a great way of doing it. It's just kind of expensive. Well, in our case, we were able to pick these things up for what, like $7?
$7.
So they're 24 inches long, which is crazy. So if you can get, you got to find them when they're on sale, so that, and it's not even quite $7 because they have some rebate going right now.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we got like $150 worth, which is crazy. It seems like such a waste of good tools. But when you start getting planes that are that big, and that big, and that big, there's 2 of them on that beam, then you end up with just tons of tons of huge amounts of space that get consumed. So then you have to start measuring the amount of plane storage to square footage cost, because it adds up quick. Even if you take those planes, put them nose down in the wall, and you put 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 of them, you're gonna use up like a small bedroom space just in those planes alone. So you can build a big stand like this, you could get lots of little planes in, but you start doing a stand like this that's wider, it's shorter, you're only gonna get 4 or 5 planes on it, and then you still take up that whole huge footprint. So if you're making plans for storage of airplanes, like what we are, one thing we did want to watch out for is the thickness of this, okay? That's not very thick. So we just happen to be throwing away some laundry basket, like laundry
sorter hamper thing.
Yeah, so this is like a thin wall, 1/2 inch or so. You could go and buy stuff, but we just happen to be throwing it away. So look at that, perfect. So it gives somewhere for the wing to slide and not cause damage. And then you just cut them to approximately the length of the wing. So in this case, we'll show you how we did it. We got our little ladder set up, and then you can see these things are on there strong, okay? So I just mount them as tight as I can mount them. And my hope is that they don't let go, because that would really suck. I haven't had a clamp let go yet. In fact, they're so tight, I can't release them. I have to use a hammer to release them if I move them. And this particular one, we've moved 3 times. Now, the other thing too to keep in mind when you're doing storage like this is you have to think about, okay, can I reach it without a ladder? Because that's a big, for me, that's a deal breaker. Also, note how tall that stand is. The landing gear are not gonna hit. So these are all factors. So let's watch. I can do this alone. It's not convenient. There's nothing convenient about moving these planes around, but note where the tail is on the other plane that's right behind it, okay? And what I can do is I can stick this up here, and you see what I'm fighting? So what I have to do is I have to decide on where it's gonna make sense to slide that in. Now, I had to kind of jockey those tails around, but again, you start getting into these bigger planes, and then you have to make some accommodations for that. So what might be smarter is to have these things staggered, but I'm trying to fit 2 more planes up here. So as a result, we have less flexibility than I would like. And also, the thing is, you can also pivot these things because you have 24 inches of reach in this particular, you can get those things 42 inches long, 48 inches long. You can actually slide them out at an angle, and you have plenty of strength to hold those things up. So remember, these planes are still relatively light. Even though they're obnoxious and big and delicate and all those things, you can point them so that the tails are pointed away from each other. And one other thing we were trying to avoid is blocking all of our lights. Because once you block all your lights, then it becomes dark and dreary. And in our old house, I had everything hanging from the ceiling, and so that was great for storage. You know, I could put 2x4s and all this stuff up in the ceiling, and then I would trap them with like 7 layers of planes, so I could never get to them. So in this house, it's a little bit worse because everything is enclosed in drywall. So we've been trying desperately to kind of come up with all these different tools. This tool worked out really nice because I can still get to the plane, I can still get it up and down fairly easy. And then basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do another one of these right now for the 2 Meter Beaver, which is sitting right here. So as you can see, this thing is sitting right at the bottom of the joist. So the other thing you can do is you can take these things, you can build a chunk of wood, or you can zip tie something on that will give you extra height, and then your wings will slip over the top of one another. So you get tons more room. Now I'm not gonna do that in this application because these are both huge planes, and as you can see, we already have an EC 1500 here. It had a nice resting spot, so we decided to just go ahead and leave it up there. But just keeping in mind, every time you make a decision on a plane, that's one less gigantic plane that's in your way. And you can see almost to the throne over here. Okay, so it's been quite the process, and we got lots of planes. You'll notice the MiG is out of the way. There's just a million different things going on today. It's been a long day of storage. We're gonna be putting those things on. Same thing, because the Beaver is a heavier plane. It's made of foam, especially the hollow wings, they will crush. So you have to be careful and you have to be mindful about that. In fact, I'm gonna slide those on after the fact. But I'll just show you the whole process. It's this easy. Get up on the ladder, find the spot where you wanna go on the VLAM. In our case, it's a VLAM. In your case, it might just be, you know, like what we did with this Carbon Z Cub.
Even here, it'd be fine.
Okay? So in this case, I'm gonna go all the way tight and I'm gonna just torque it down just as much as I can possibly get it. I do not want that thing to let go, okay? And then I'll show you up here. It's just clamping on for dear life. And look how little the wasted space is, okay? Same thing here. Thing that's nice is that keeps the nose of your plane protected, whereas this does not. I have to put that piece of foam up there to keep the nose protected. And that was just using dowels, or those are like wing joiners that we had from Crash Planes. Okay, so we got one up. So we do the second one, and I can slide this up while I'm up there. And I need to leave accommodation for the width of the prop being out of the way and going in without hitting where the wing struts are. So usually what I do is I come down and I take like a fist measurement, so like 3 fists worth. And that one's quite a bit wider. I probably could have gone narrower, but I was moving. Okay, so 3 fists, 1, 2, 3. So we have a good quick measurement. And the thing is, I don't know how I'm gonna go with my wings, because you can see I'm gonna overlap my wings, so I don't know how this is gonna work. I may have to actually move it down. What do you think, camera crew?
Yeah, we might have to.
I'm gonna have to.
Because it'll go over the top of the EC1500.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But then, yeah.
Yeah, and then I have to tighten this thing too. On these particular clamps, there's a place you have to tighten on both sides. And so I don't want to forget to do it.
It's a little red.
Little red knob thing.
That little red knob right there is what he's tightening on. It's over there.
Okay, so now that I've got that tight, I'm gonna slide this on. And that's just gonna give us a place for the wing to set on top of. It's not so it slips on and off, it's just literally a wider surface so that you're gonna not damage and dig into the foam. So then we get the huge plane. This is the 2 Meter Beaver, which is an awesome plane. But again, it's awesome until the time when you have to store it. So historically, we had actually had this nose down on the ground, or this one was on the ground resting up against something else. Okay, so push your servos flat for your flaps, if the flaps are equipped, if you're equipped with flaps, I should say. And then this is what I'm gonna do. I have to watch where I'm going. I wanna be able to do this without a ladder so that I can get it out relatively quickly. Oh yeah, buddy.
You're over. Yeah.
There we go. Now I'm good. Perfect. And it doesn't even hit the pitot tube. Show the people at home. That is amazing. Guys, it is such a huge relief to be able to store planes in such a manner. It is huge. It's so weird. It seems like such a non-issue until you have it hanging over your head and piling up for literally years. And then look at all these planes. This is just one of the racks. We're gonna end up with a total of 5. And the 5 racks are gonna clean up a huge amount of storage issues. So guys, that's the tour. We appreciate you being part of our lives here on Brian Phillips RC. If you wanna help support us, the best thing you can do is like the videos, click the bell for notifications, and of course, come back for more. We have tons of new content. If you wanna send us gifts on Patreon or PayPal, we have Patreon for monthly support and PayPal for individual one-time gifts, which always brighten our day. But we always say the best way to financially support us is to just buy the planes that we love. And we're bringing you on this channel because obviously we are obsessed with it. And that is why I like keeping so many of these planes. And to be honest, we still get rid of a lot of planes, but I love them. I love having a lot of planes, but it is a tedious task dealing with so many big and different shaped items. You know, it's not like we're dealing with speakers that you can put in a stack, you know, or fridges that are super small. We're dealing with planes. You know, these planes are gigantic. And as you get into the higher end planes that are bigger and very delicate, like the Draco, for instance, is one that's on our radar and I'm a little bit concerned about. I want to have it hung up so I can walk under it and not have to worry. But I can go, if I want to fly this plane, it takes me, 30 seconds to pull that thing down. I go out, I do my flying or store it into the vehicle and then go where I'm going to fly. And that's the way we want them to be. So anyway, we hope this video was helpful to you. If you want the plans for these things, check out brianphillipsrc.com. We'll have links in the video description below. And we'll show you the 3 different cut sets. And so you can just follow along and do your thing. And just so you know, there's definitely a little bit of movement and play, but I think it's suitable for what we're doing. Just obviously use your best judgments as you get your plane set up on there. I figured the best way to do this, if you want to reinforce it, would be to find a spot where you know your planes are not going to be impacted, mark it, cut it in half, put a T, and then one more centerpiece. But I still feel like it gets in the way so much that it's better if you can just kind of balance the load on there.
Yeah. Or if you wanted to use like a 1-inch PVC or something, your cutlass would still be the same if you followed our plan. You just use a bigger material.
I think it might almost be, but see, the thing is, if you go to a bigger PVC, it does not necessarily mean it's going to be stronger in this axis. It's going to be able to hold more weight, but you're going to have a bigger opening in the middle. True. So it's about the opening to thickness of material ratio. So if you went down to a 1/2 inch, I almost wonder if there'd be some improvements there. By the way, we did price 1/2 inch for this part, and it just got really expensive because the 3/4 to 3/4 to 1/2 was terrible. Even in the contractor packs where they sell you like 10 at a time instead of 1 at a time, it just added up super quick. But obviously with the smaller planes, this is the 12-inch frame, that's the 18-inch wide frame, but they're otherwise exactly the same. And if you look at the bottom, we have a little bit of room on the floor. There's definitely some room to put things there. So I think we're gonna be good here. All right, guys, that's all you get for tonight. Thanks for watching. So much more from Brian Phillips RC coming. Hopefully this was helpful. All right, so one last clip, YouTube, we promise, and then we're done. So as you can see, we have some additional sticks here left because we were gonna build another stand, but we sort of just ran out of need. Okay, so walk into the dungeon. The dungeon has now a Draco and, oh, what's the other one?
Husky.
A Husky, yep, up there. And we already showed him the clamps, correct? Okay, so this is the 18-inch stand. It's nice and stable enough for what we're doing.
That's the 12-inch.
The 12-inch, I'm sorry, not 18-inch. And then we have carbon Z-cubs. We have an extra position here for one other plane that we don't have in here yet. And then we have the Beaver, the carbon Z-cub, or carbon Z Cessna 150T. All these planes that are up above, I can get down when I need to get these down to fly them. And it's not perfect, but it's acceptable. The tails don't run into each other. I didn't want to block my light up here. That's why I didn't use that last stall. So one thing we did find out on the 18-inch wide shelves is that they get pretty tipsy. Even with our best, whatever balancing act, it was just too scary for me. And everybody agreed that you would bump a plane and it would just set it to tipping. It never tipped over, but it just made you feel uncomfortable. So we had these extra things. They were metal rods from...
It's supposed to be for a trampoline, like that
trampoline
net
safety net. So then we also took some cardboard and just braced them in an angle. And we did this one, which has our heaviest batch of airplanes on it. We did the same thing. We just zip tied it along the side, and then we actually added in this little adapter. We were talking about it's a 90, and then basically the only reason this T is here is because we had 6 inches already cut that were waste. And then over here, it's like a 6 and a 12-inch, and that's why there's a T in there. But that makes this one just really rock solid. And you only have to brace the one side. You don't have to brace both sides. If you brace both sides, it's really sturdy. But adding that 190, that extra 12-inch piece, and that 1T times 2 and another 18-inch piece takes this from really pretty rickety feeling to quite sturdy. This takes it from quite sturdy to way more sturdy. But the thing is, you do give up clear access here, and we did run into problems with that on the Focke 190, the Focke-Wulf 190, because the landing gear are in like this, and they shoot out forward. It's kind of a weird configuration. So we still have some planes that are on the ground. It's going to get better, but you know, that's the way it is for now. We're probably going to do another stand, but one thing that we hadn't anticipated or hadn't really gauged or thought about was that you have to have access from both the front and the back. And then because we're 18 inches wide, you can get some pretty big planes in here. Look, this is the 90mm Viper along with the Commander in the same position, okay? Because there's a 6-inch offset on where the wings go, but high wing and low wing makes a huge difference. And then of course we already had a lot hung up, and so we just reorganized those in such a way. Now there's still an F-18 on the ground, there's still an F-16 on the ground, but we were able to get another F-16 on the ground because we had like a Gen 1, Gen 2, or version 1, version 2. And so because of the sheer volume of these airplanes, we wanted to really focus on trying to get them off of the ground. Just even off the ground is a good compromise, because yes, there's a lot going on here. It's definitely, like if I wanted to get that F-15 out, I can get the F-15 out. If I want to get the P-47 Fun Cub from Hangar 9, I can get to it. The idea is, even though it's a little bit harder to get behind these racks, I can still do it. So at the end of the day, we're just making accessibility and organization even remotely possible. So probably the biggest improvement down here was the easiest improvement, and that was those clamps.
Yep.
I know it sounds stupid, but those things were $7 each, which is incredible. Because, I mean, $14 for a plane seems like a lot until you're like, that's a $600 plane. So, you know, okay, so $614 plane. You know, it just costs, I mean, the battery costs 190 bucks. So.
And if you only have one or two big planes.
Yeah. But I mean, most of the people that have big planes can just switch gears and do a big plane stand. So, but I would encourage you to consider doing bigger. The 3/4 inch is nice, but if you went up to a 1-inch PVC and a Schedule 40, I just feel like the airspace may trade off and you're still gonna have the wobble in play. So, but I felt like our system worked. It was very easy. I did 2 of them tonight. I cut all the pieces at once. I measured all of them at once, went through, made sure I didn't have a bunch of waste, but we still ended up with a little bit of waste, and you use about what, like 4 sticks per unit. And then of course you can get the contractor packs and save a little bit of money when you're buying these, where you get like 10 at a time. So for us, we're very, very, very happy we did this. Obviously we did a bunch of other things too in the basement, and this is something that we have to reevaluate every, you know, 6 months to a year. We don't share this often, but we do get asked a lot to share this. So if it was up to me, I would never share it, because I think it's, I don't know, it could be misinterpreted big time, but it also, for us, you know, we're trying to grow this hobby, and so when somebody sees us with all these planes, it looks kind of like I'm on an episode of Hoarders. So it's a little bit embarrassing in that regard, but at the same time, it's like, if I'm going to be embarrassed in a way, it's having a lot of planes would be a good thing to be embarrassed about in my particular position. So I love having a lot of planes, but at the same time, you know, I had a lot of planes before we started working with a lot of these companies. But then when we started working with a lot of these companies, we get a lot of planes, like to the tune of probably 5 times as many. So we always kind of struggle with whether or not it makes sense to share this part of the, you know, the RC, you know, influence, or whatever you want to call us, lifestyle.
And it's hard to share because in this house, we haven't felt like we've had some amazing organizational system.
Yeah, we really
kind
don't.
of been pretty much a mess since we
But it was a
moved
mess
in.
at the old house too.
Yeah.
And it just kept growing,
Yeah.
and it get lower and lower. And then eventually it was like I was ducking to work.
We don't have all the answers either. This is
Because this is still not perfect.
No.
It's a long ways from perfect. But we are way better than we were.
And we're pretty fortunate to have a fairly big space down here for you to have planes in an unfinished
Yep.
basement. I mean, I don't know what
Yeah,
you would do.
when this wall gets finished, that whole wall is going to have to come down. So guess what I'm going to have to do? I'll have to build some more plane stands, but then how do you do it? So I think what we'll have to do is the next time we build plane stands, it'll have to be a one-sided operation. And then there'll have to be a bigger outrigger, and it will have to stay dedicated to the wall and maybe strapped to the wall.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways we could skin this cat. We feel like this is a big improvement. We still have an F-16 and a Rafale on this table. So we're thinking about maybe changing that a little bit as well. And then we're also thinking about for the gliders and sailplanes that are so big, we were thinking about taking and making a vertical stand that looks a little bit like that. That is like a plate rack.
Yep.
And we would put that down vertically, you know, on the ground. And then you can set your planes into it. But the thing is, we want to make it so that you can manipulate the angle and then you can take up less room with each of them. But then you don't run the risk of having the whole stack fall down. But look how much better this is now. I mean, it's just significantly easier to get to. If I want to get to the Optera, it's 3 planes deep. If I want to get to the ASW-28, that's the worst one. But I could actually grab and pull that whole thing up. So if you can't get to a plane, you're not going to fly it.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It's just that, like, if I want to fly the 90 millimeter Viper jet right now, I can go to it. I can pull it out. It's going to be a little bit challenging on this one because this rack is so full and it's got so many like big planes. But believe me, that rack of planes would fill up an entire living room just in and of itself. So, and there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, and that's part of the reason why we did this video. Because, you know, like when you get a lot of planes, it's tough to store them. So it's one of the biggest challenges of the hobby beyond learning to fly, getting back into it, getting up to speed with technology. Those are the other two big ones. But, you know, obviously it takes money to do any hobby. So that's just something you work through. But storing airplanes is tough. And if you don't want to disassemble your planes every time you bring them home, which would be super time prohibitive for our lifestyle and our lifestyle previous to this current lifestyle where we are now, it would have basically killed the deal for me. Because if I had to take the planes completely down every time, which we had a couple of planes that we would take down, like namely the ASW-28, it's 2.6 meters, is pretty long. I didn't ever have the 3 meter, but that thing goes together in minutes. It's without tools, it's super easy. But most planes, you have to undo a couple of bolts, and even with quick detach wires, it still takes some time. So I think the worst plane I had for transport was the Airbus A380. And that was big, and it took a lot of like thinking and organization to get it in the car. But every time we'd take it out, it was super fun to fly it. So it was really rewarding. Same thing with the Airbus A330-600, which is very long. That thing, it takes up almost 2 rack positions because it's just so dang long. So, but it comes apart in such a way that I can get it in the car, sort of. So anyway, hopefully this video was helpful. And we don't want you guys to take it the wrong way. We just, we're trying to be helpful in a new way. Obviously building these stands was a relatively easy thing. It's relatively inexpensive. But really, you know, the whole, you know, like this method, it's super easy, but you have to have the right environment for that. You're not just going to like poke holes in your wall, although you could do that. And if you did poke holes in your wall, and you know you put carbon fiber sticks in there and you get them out this far, you know, and you're stuck into a stud 3.5 inches of penetration, you can actually put a pretty heavy wing on it. So lots of different ways to skin this cat. So hopefully you can take what we've done and run with it. So hopefully you'll be leaving your comments and questions in the video, in the comments section below. Leave us your questions. We try to get back to them as quick as we can. I just finally got caught up from like being 3 months behind. So our apologies there. Yeah.
That was like 2 days ago, so now you're behind again.
Yeah, I'm behind again already. And if you want to support us, the best thing you could do is just buy these planes when we review them. That helps us to build relationships with the companies that are sending them, but it also pays us small commissions, and every little bit helps. You know, I mean, it's like maybe $10 or something on a plane, so it's not like we're getting rich off of that. But if a lot of you guys buy stuff, it does add up. And that's what we're looking for, is just trying to help bring good quality products to you. You can make your own decision on what plane makes best sense to your particular lifestyle choice. And then of course, like what your preferences are. So we're here to help you confirm those decisions and not necessarily try to be a hard sell one or the other. Because at the end of the day, we want to help drive the hobby companies to do what we want too. So we have more voice with the companies than we have ever had in our lives. And so it's really cool because when you guys give us feedback, you reaffirm some of the things that we were thinking before, like flaps and LEDs, for instance. We still don't have the LEDs beat into their head, but we're working on it. But flaps, I mean, when's the last time we got a plane that didn't have flaps on it? It's getting a lot better. I mean, there are occasionally planes without flaps, but now they're coming with flapper-ons. That, I'm sure that my annoying actually helped a little bit with that. But I'm sure there's other people that have been annoying them for years. So remember, that's a big part of what we're trying to do here on this channel, is just drive the success of the hobby, and every little bit helps. So we appreciate you guys. Come back for more. We'll try to get to your comments and questions as quick as we can. And obviously, stay tuned. There's so much more coming. PayPal links down below, Patreon links, and then of course links to planes are right below. Check out BrianPhillipsRC.com, which is just like the name on YouTube, except it's www.BrianPhillipsRC.com. And when you're there, we'll have some instructions, but we will link to that so you don't have to search for it. And if you see any plane in here, there is a playlist, and the playlist is linked from the website, so then you can see all the videos. If you're asking, how do I set up the radio on the Carbon Z Cessna 150T? How do I do that? What would you do, camera crew?
You would find the playlist for that plane and then find the unbox, build, and radio setup portion.
And they're sometimes split and sometimes not.
Yep.
But either way, it's listed right there in the
In the
video
title.
description.
Yep.
And we are not big on clickbait. We don't do any clickbait here. We don't waste you guys' time on that. We waste your time once you come.
Yes.
So
you know what you're clicking on.
You know what you're clicking on. You know what you're getting
wasting your time
into.
on.
Don't be surprised by a 3-hour video. That's what we do here on Brian Phillips RC. But we hope that they're packed with enough information that you're like, wow, I just wasted 3 hours, but I learned a lot. It was helpful. I feel like I'm a better RC pilot now. I feel like I've got a better idea of, like this is a $700 purchase. My wife is probably going to divorce me. I want to make sure it's worth it. So, we're here to help you make bad decisions the best you can.
Right.
I'm Brian Phillips RC. Come back for more.